All right. I just watched Chainsaw Man, Ree's Arc, the movie, and I got some mixed feelings about it. So I watched Chainsaw Man about a couple years ago and didn't quite finish the series. Starting out, the beginning was very emotional and very sad, right? And it definitely drew you in. And, I was looking forward to the remainder of the season, after watching it, but I didn't quite get to that point. So I kind of put it in the back burner, and, a couple years passed by, and we have a whole film on the show. I wasn't gonna watch this at first because I'm like, I can't watch this movie without getting caught up to the original series. But my cousin literally told me that it was the best anime that he's seen. And if you guys don't know my cousin, he is one of the biggest anime advocates, and I take his word seriously when it comes to anime and what to watch when it comes to that, right? So when he gives it this much praise, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give it some consideration, right? So the good thing about it is he told me that I didn't need to catch up on the previous seasons or whatever to really understand this movie or enjoy it. So I was like, okay, that's a bonus, right? So we're gonna be breaking down just my thoughts on the movie and just my thoughts on the concept of Chainsaw Man, period. As we know, the main character here is Denji, and Denji is a very interesting character. He kind of has that same archetype that we always have with our protagonists, those guys that are very, very into their emotions, strong, brave, and care about the people that are around them, right? They have a deep sense of responsibility to protect those people that they love, and those are always great qualities in protagonists, right? So in this movie, it's basically a love story in a sense where, for him in his constant quest to find someone that will love him, after having a traumatic past, is something that he is always seeking. And he comes across someone that, displays those characteristics to him, where he, falls deeply in love with her, which was the beginning of the entire movie, right? And was very, very good. The cinematography, the pacing was great, and in that sequence, and it was definitely some good comedy as well injected into that. And I thought that they did a really good job with that. Yes, this is gonna definitely be a spoiler, right? So if you haven't seen it, I'm definitely gonna be spoiling some stuff. So I would suggest you just not watch this. All right. Turns out that she was a devil this entire time, and of course, she betrays his ass and tries to kill him, right? Uh, but when you watch these type of animes and see how these characters behave, it gets to a deeper understanding of how their psyche works, right? With Denji not having that solid foundation as a kid and having, unconditional love growing up, it manifests in his outer world, right? He clings on to people who literally hurt him, don't want nothing to do with them, and forgives them for the craziest shit. And he literally forgave this girl after she did the most wild shit that you could possibly think of, right? Literally trying to kill him, killing multiple innocent people, and he ends up still wanting her, right? So it just shows a deep-rooted issue that Denji has in his self-esteem and his worth, right? But I think that's what this whole movie's about, and just his character development and learning to love himself to the point where he doesn't sacrifice his own self-respect for people, right? Funny thing that happens is at the end of the movie, she literally decides to, go back and realizes that, damn, there's nobody else that's gonna love me like this dude, right? So she kind of gets that regret and unfortunately gets killed, by the devil lady, the leader. I forgot her name, Mikazi. I don't know. I forgot her name. And so she gets killed by her, and it's a very deep story, right? And I thought that was a really great element when it comes to that. One thing I do want to talk about is just the concept of Chainsaw Man. All right, it's very unique. I can't deny that it's a very unique story, but like, how much character development can a guy that's powers is chainsaw, like, coming out of his arms and head, like, how much development power wise can really happen with that, right? If you saw this movie, he was getting his ass beat by this girl, right? She was called the Bomb Devil, and she was strong as hell. So I just question, like, all right, how is this dude gonna even be taken seriously in the future? I mean, he's kind of like Wolverine in the sense that his healing factor or whatever, like, he can't die. That's probably one of his biggest strengths. But in terms of offensive combat, I don't really see how that power can really develop. And it's just one of those things that is off-putting in a sense when it comes to this show. Like, it's such a silly ass power that I just don't know if I can take it serious. And yes, not all these characters need to have a extremely useful power or something that can scale, but I don't know, for me, I just can't see how it's going to develop more. According to my cousin, it's going to get crazy, which is great, but besides that, I think the movie was very good. When we talk about just anime films, like, it's heading to a good place, okay? Like, this movie showed me that, yeah, you know what? At first, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think anime was worth my money to go see in the theater. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna sit here and be truthful, just because I'm like, if I could just watch this online, Crunchyroll or whatever, like, I never really understood anime being in the theaters and being something that you should watch there. But Dragon Ball Z, definitely changed my mind on that. Demon Slayer definitely changed my mind on that. And this also showed me how wrong I was, right? So that's very exciting to see that they've been able to put this type of quality into those movie theater screenings, and something that you can look forward to watch in the future, right? To go to a theater and watch an anime film. The cinematography in this movie was great. The fighting was phenomenal. The guy that wrote this, Fujimoto, I think that's his name. Someone said that he has the CEOs and of the production company, like, he has blackmail with them or something, because they don't understand how he's able to get such high budgets for his work in terms of the quality of the films. But it was definitely a great aspect of the movie in just how crisp and clean the fighting was, and how easy it was to follow everything, right? You have a lot of those animes that it's just lasers and just light stuff, where the animation just isn't really hitting. I would say that wasn't the case with this movie, and that was a really good aspect of it. But other than that, the Chainsaw Man movie was definitely a film to go see. You don't have to catch up on the original series to enjoy this film or understand it. It's its own little arc that has its own story, right? So that was a really good part of it. But yeah, other than that, I highly suggest to go watch this film. I would rate it around 7 to 10. Not better than Demon Slayer, in my opinion, just because Demon Slayer has more depth to it in terms of a story. Like, so if you've been watching Demon Slayer and you watch this, you know, you're not going to have as much of a connection in a sense, right? Because Demon Slayer has been out for a lot longer and you have more of an emotional connection to those characters than Chainsaw Man. That's the only thing I would say is why Demon Slayer is better. But if you do want to watch something that, you know, can get you invested very early on, this is definitely a great choice. But yeah, definitely check it out. And appreciate you guys for watching. Until next time.